All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to American Advocates. I'm going to be upfront and honest right away. I pretty much didn't feel like streaming tonight, but I am goyim now to YouTube. I am cattle to them, and I must stream every single night. Otherwise, they punish me by demoting my spot in the algorithm and throttling my views. So I am now here, live, going live with not much to talk about, but to cover a few stories that I found interesting and doing so at the expense of going to sleep. I'm exhausted, and I'm going to be winging this one tonight, in all honesty, to a degree. I didn't even bullet point any talking points I wanted to mention, but I did see some articles and news today that made me really want to just at least go live to discuss it. And it's centered around the Iran tensions that are continuing to heat up, of course, with this Trump administration, as well as, of course, the latest news down in Cuba. And I'm going to tie those two topics in together to each other to make the point that I've been making on this channel for weeks and months now. I see Glenn was here on early, not even on time, early. Appreciate that, Glenn. You're not. Yeah, I can't even say you're here earlier on time. I'm always the one that can't. I never. I literally always tell myself I'm going to go live at 9 p.m. and then it just never happens. So I appreciate people like you, Glenn. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. You like the stream already. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. He's late. Must be making dinner in his car. Exactly. What'd you say? You said last couple of streams got good. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very drained tonight though, Glenn. So I'm gonna be winging it. Like I said, I pretty much have to go live every day according to AIs like Grok and ChatGPT. And that's why when I take a day off or especially 2 days off in a row, that's why all of a sudden I'll come back live and I'll only get like, 100 on the stream. It's because YouTube goes, oh, this guy took a day off. We're gonna punish him. So I guess I'm just gonna go live now every single day for the rest of my fucking life. So here we are. The article that I found most fascinating, I saw it originally as a post on X, and it's dealing on the topic of course, Israel and Iran and what we're witnessing unfold with all of that, and it's discussing it from the perspective of the Trump administration officials. They've been obviously holding cabinet meetings about this. They've been discussing a lot of a lot of issues going on over there with the Israel-Iran war, and they're worried. They're outright worried about the perspective, public opinion, and perspective of this possible, I should say, Iran war that's heating up right now, as Israel is calling upon us to strike Iran and informing us basically that Iran is developing ballistic missiles that can now reach Europe and that they're working on developing even longer range missiles that could reach the United States in time, as well as, of course, the speculation that Iran has already begun enriching uranium again, or at the very least is trying to rebuild their centrifuges and rebuild their nuclear facilities in order to work towards obtaining nuclear warheads once again. Of course, this pushes back against the narrative that we were being fed by this Trump administration around summer of last year after the successful strikes, they called it, on Fordo and the other two bases, saying that we wiped out their nuclear capabilities for the next three years minimum, I think is what they said at the time, and they said it was total annihilation, and it didn't even take a full year for them to walk that back basically, and now we're at the point where they're telling us at the very least that they could be only 18 months away or only 24 months away from having nuclear warheads. So the time to strike is now, according to Israel Intel and various other intelligence communities out there, I guess. So no video, says 2009 Lifeguard. What's up? Is everything okay? Can everybody hear me? You guys can all see me, right? No video. Hopefully, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Lifeguard, but welcome to the stream. Same to you, Squidman. Welcome. Good to have you guys in here. 5x5. 5x5 will help. I see you. Okay, perfect. All right. Just wanted to make sure. I'm not sure what Lifeguard was talking about. Maybe Lifeguard's trying. I can hear you, says Dean. Appreciate that. Maybe Lifeguard was referencing how I keep saying I've been meaning to make a video about James Fishback running for governor of Florida, or also I've been meaning to make a few Rupert Lowe and the Restore Britain Party. I've been meaning to make a few videos, so maybe that's what he's referencing. But yeah, so here's the deal. This Trump administration, here's this article by Politico, and it says White House officials believe the politics are a lot better politics if Israel strikes Iran first. And so this is kind of the narrative that's now being put out there from this White House well, according to Politico, this is their narrative, and they apparently, I guess, they have insiders. I guess I'm not sure how this works, how they know this is what's being discussed, but according to Politico, White House officials believe that they believe the politics will be a lot better if Israel strikes Iran first. And I found this article fascinating because I vehemently disagree with it. First and foremost, I think I've made it very clear so far when it comes to what's going on over there overseas in Iran that I'm just against Middle Eastern conflict in general at this point. As a millennial, I've stated this before. I've grown up with to develop Middle East fatigue. I got to witness what I call fruitless and senseless wars taking place over there, shedding the blood of Americans. And not every war there, maybe you can say, was useless, but certainly wars like the Iraq War, with enough time, we've actually determined basically that was all just wrong intelligence that led us to Iraq, and wrongfully so, and we wasted lives and money on Iraq. That war wound up costing us trillions of dollars. And so it's expensive, and we're just not in the right timeline anymore, in my opinion, for America to be doing what is about to be possibly doing in Iran. And so I view it through that lens, and I recognize, by the way, that I am not a Middle East expert or specialist. I am not some sort of Middle East historian. I'm not here to say, oh, yeah, this is just ridiculous, and this is the true agenda in the Middle East, etc. But I know what I see, and I know how I feel, and I also do bother to do at least some research on this topic and try to figure out what's going on. And I'm telling you right now, I just don't like it. I can freely recognize that Iran probably is not going to ever be a friend to the United States or to any of the Western countries. Their government, the religion of the Middle East as a whole, not very friendly to Western ideals. Iran calls us the Great Satan, or a lot of the Middle Easterners do at least. And so, yeah, like I understand that. I understand that their way of life, as it is now at least, is not compatible with the West. And I can recognize also that, if they're developing nuclear warheads or they're trying to, then that probably is not a great thing. They're allied with China and Russia and BRICS, etc. So they're no friend to us, okay? And I'm not some Middle Eastern sympathizer over here. I'm not an Iran sympathizer. But the fact of the matter is, in all honesty, I just don't see how it's our problem. And I've been harping on that the past couple days especially. And I've been bringing up a point that I think is a credible point. And that point is, of course, they're in NATO's backyard. Europe's backyard is Iran. The problem here is Iran already has missiles, according to Israeli intelligence, that can reach Europe. So, like I said last night after addressing Trump's State of the Union address speech, where he did discuss this topic a bit, like I pointed out, how is this more of America's problem, but not Europe's problem? Why are we not seeing NATO at the forefront of this new problem with Iran? How come it's not NATO leading the charge on this one, saying this is ridiculous, Iran needs to be stopped? Because if that were the case, I would rest easier and say, yeah, this is great. Sure, NATO's going in. They're going to attack Iran. Wonderful. They're going to stop the threat of Iran and nuclear power, and they're rebuilding their centrifuges. This is great. NATO's got this. That would make me happy because I don't like Iran. I don't like the government of Iran, and I don't like much of the Middle East region at all. And so if they're developing nuclear warheads, if the intelligence is accurate, which I have doubts on, by the way, but if it is or isn't, regardless, if NATO was leading the charge on this, I wouldn't care as much. But no, it's not the case. And once again, we're in this position as Americans where we're expected to deal with these problems for the rest of the world and for all of these countries who claim to be our allies, but only ever really seem to be interested in being our friends based off of how much they can use us to further their agendas. And I'm just so sick of this now as an American. And I'll tell you this, over the past 11 months now that it's been that I've been active on this channel posting. I created this channel technically a year ago, but I didn't start posting on it until March 10th. And in that time, what a journey I've been on politically, because your eyes just get open. The more you there's a difference between watching the news and even reading articles from time to time. And then there's a difference between critically thinking about these topics and contrasting them with other sources of information you're getting and looking at politics not just from a state level or a nationwide level, but from a geopolitical level, looking at it all across the world and saying, what's really going on here? And that's just not something that I really did a whole lot of up until about a year ago. And I don't want to be one of those people that has their eyes opened and then all of a sudden becomes an expert. Candace Owens, I'm talking about you. I don't want to be like that because that's how you make an ass out of yourself and you go down the cuckoo crazy train line, right? So I'm not going to do that, like I said, and I always say that and preface that I am not a Middle Eastern expert. I don't know about that region of the world. I don't do extensive research on it. But what I speak from is from the lens of being an American and someone who recognizes all of the problems that we're facing internally in this country and the crisis that we're experiencing as Americans. I call it a crisis. We're on the verge of a cost of living crisis if you're a lower middle class American or poor American. It's a cost of living crisis creeping up on us. Trump yesterday says affordability. I don't know where Democrats got that. We got that from our prices, our consumer prices, okay? That's literally where we got it from. I look at the condition of our roads. This is a point that I made the other night as well. Our roads, I know it's a state government level thing, but it just points to a bigger problem. Just the little inconveniences, the notice and the decrease in quality of our life here in America. And yeah, it's a first world problem, but that's the whole point of America, is to be a first world country. So yeah, is it too much for me to ask that our roads don't have potholes in it that look like a sauropod fucking dinosaur have walked down it every day for the past 15 years? Just stomping mud holes in the roads to the point of where when I hit one, I get a flat tire or I damage my tie rods. All the while, we continue to justify sending all of these hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, truthfully, overseas to these ungrateful allies. Like, I am just getting more and more fed up each and every single week that I do a video on this channel or go live because these articles keep hitting and it just seems like we keep getting thrust into this globalist agenda, direction that we really don't want to go down. And when it comes to these allies, even if this is not globalism, fix the damn roads. Agreed, Glenn. Agreed. 2000 Lifeguard says the Iranian people are quite Western. Yes, they are. I understand that. They're quite Western in their beliefs. So you see, if you look at what Iran was like 50 years ago compared to now, it's sad. It is sad. I understand that. I've seen the photos, by the way. The Islamic regime dictatorship is holding them at the point of, for Khomeini. I agree. One word, altruism. It's why America is different. We do what is right because we have the power to do so, says Twisted Wisdom. Altruism is for people who can afford it. America can no longer afford altruism, though, Twisted Wisdom. Do you look at our national debt and think to yourself, gee, we really need to start sending more money to these other countries who take advantage of us? Because I certainly don't. That's not my perspective on that. I look at our national debt, our cost of living. I look at the fact that our veterans are treated like shit here. I look at our housing market prices. I look at the average age median home buyer being age 59. I look at Gen Z being the doomer generation that believes there's no hope for their future. And I think to myself, gee, the last thing we should be doing is sending money to our allies and other countries, all because they choose to not be as prepared as they should be from a military standpoint. So that's my, I don't, altruism is for wealthy people. America is only wealthy because we control the currency, basically, the world's currency for the most part. And even that's rapidly fading away from our hands now at this point too. And on top of that, again, if we're in a position for some reason where our national debt bubble pops and, Social Security breaks and the AI industry destroys everything, we're royally fucked. There's so much to fix in this country right now, and there's so much wrong with America. So altruism is just not even a justifiable talking point anymore, to be honest with you. That'd be like telling a homeless person or a poor person who has to work 3 jobs just to pay rent and eat tuna and potatoes every night that their problem is they need to give more of their money to charity. That's not their problem. That's not their problem. So this article goes on to say anyway, senior advisors to President Donald Trump would prefer Israel strike Iran before the United States launches an assault on the country, according to 2 people familiar with the ongoing discussions. The calculus is a political one. It says that more Americans would stomach a war with Iran if the United States or an ally were attacked first. Recent polling shows that Americans and Republicans in particular support regime change in Iran, but are unwilling to risk any U.S. casualties to achieve it. That means Trump's team is considering the optics of how an attack is conducted in addition to other justifications, such as Iran's nuclear program. The program we were assured summer of last year was no longer intact and wouldn't be a problem for years to come. Also, the funny thing I find here, it's not funny, but it's tragically funny, is, hold on, what was it? Sorry, I lost my point. This is what happens when you stream while you're tired. I'm exhausted, but I must stream. YouTube makes me stream. Yes, that's it. It would look better if America was attacked first. That's what it was. I read that and I scoffed because what are we doing right now? Well, we're sending 50% of our Navy force over to the Persian Gulf, sitting right outside the country of Iran, well within striking distance. So it's like, what's going on here? What's actually happening here? Are we setting it up so that we can be attacked, so that we can justify a war here? Because it's like that's part of the problem. They deem part of the problem they deem is, well, Iran really should strike us first, and if they do, and then we send all of our troops in to attack them and regime change them, then Americans will support us. It's like, all right, well, so what's your plan for that? Is to send the Navy there and make it so that Iran feels like they have to attack us, and then we justify that? And again, I'm not an Iran defender, honestly. Fuck the Iran regime, okay? But the bottom line is I just don't want to be dealing with these kind of countries at this level anymore. I'm sick and tired of that region. Nothing good comes from the Middle East. Nothing, you know? It's kind of like the comparable wisdom that we're all told as children by our parents, where they're like, son, nothing good happens after 11 p.m. at night. Make sure you're always in bed or at home by 11 p.m. It's like it's kind of the same thing. Nothing good happens by lingering in the Middle East. You're only like, I as an American would never travel there ever, right? But yet for some reason we keep sending our military. We just keep staying involved in that region beyond what we should be. Nothing good comes out of the Middle East. There's no benefit to being there. So that was what I found funny. And then on top of it, I wanted to point this out, because then you have Vice President J.D. Vance now. He's on there too, and he's claiming that the White House has seen evidence that Iran is trying to rebuild nuclear weapons programs ahead of Geneva negotiations. And so it's all being doubled down on now. It's all being discussed at length. And what I wanted to point out was this. They're worried about the optics and the favorability of a war in Iran, right? And they're like, well, this is how we make it this is how we make it so Americans will stomach this war better. We'll make sure Iran either strikes America first, Americans, our military there in the Persian Gulf, or Israel should really strike them first and get things going, right? Get things heated up over there, and then that'll justify it more to Americans why we then have to go in to defend our greatest ally who provoked Iran into a war. And it's like, no, actually. That's the worst conclusion you could have come up with. It's actually going to make people hate Israel even more. If Israel goes and strikes Iran, and Iran just rains fire down on them and decides, you know what, fuck those ships in our Persian Gulf from the U.S. military. We're striking them too. Now we have to go to war, right? Now we have to honor the alliance with Israel. Do you really think that's going to make it better for Americans and easier for Americans to stomach? The answer to that is a loaded question, but in short summary, I'm going to tell you this. No, it's going to make it worse, because the bottom line is, and I have this pulled up here, if you're a boomer, perhaps, boomers love Israel, they love our allies, they hate the Middle East. Boomers are very, very Arab adverse. And it's not, like I said, I look at Dearborn, I have a whole playlist on this channel devoted to Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, I'm not some sort of Muslim sympathizer. I think it's a demonic religion. I don't think it belongs in this country. I want burqas banned. I want Sharia law banned. I want us to stop even taking immigrants in from those parts of the world. So I'm not some sort of sympathizer. I got to preface. I don't usually just put prefaces or disqualifiers on my statements, but that's an important one. And I think a lot of people get lost in the sauce on that topic as well when it comes to pointing out how Israel seems to, always drag us into these wars. And it's like, yeah, you can criticize that, but, don't forget but regardless, I have this pulled up. So if you're a boomer, perhaps you like this idea. Boomers do like this idea, right? Overall, that doesn't surprise me. But I wanted to pull up the demographic of Americans under the age of 30, or in approximately the age range of 18 to 34, which is the age range I fall under as well. Obviously, I'm a millennial, I'm a young millennial. Um, Only around 11% of Americans under the age of 30, upwards of 19% depending on the poll, express sympathy or support for Israel in the conflicts happening over in the Middle East, according to major 2025 polls. Israel's support with the youth is dwindling. Okay, what's happening lately, and this is a trend I've been noticing all year long. It's really been sparking up on social media, especially. You have young people like myself, Middle East fatigue, and I grew up thinking that and believing that we belonged in the Middle East fighting wars there because of 9/11 and whatnot, right? And so when you're a kid, it's different. But then you get older and you start to take a look at the world and you start to take a look at what's happening, right? And you see things that you can't ignore anymore, right? Like certain things I've noticed, for instance, the difference between President Donald Trump this term versus President Donald Trump in his first term. Why does Trump feel so much different now as opposed to in 2016 and 2015? It's a loaded question, and there's a lot of reasons why. His advanced age is one of them. What he went through under the Biden administration is another one. But also, following the money is very revealing. And I follow the money coming from somebody like a Miriam Adelson, for instance. And this is something that once you see it, you can't unsee it. Miriam Adelson, during Trump's first term in 2015, donated roughly I think it was $20 million to President Donald Trump. That number is now like 100x that in 2023 and 2024. And so the money reveals a lot, right? And it's because of this that I've become very anti big money in politics, anti APAC, anti big pharma, anti big tech. All of this massive amounts of money influencing our congressmen and congresswomen who write our legislation, all of this money influencing our executive branch at times, our politics in general, it's completely unavoidable and you cannot ignore it anymore. And that's the point that I'm at, honestly, on this channel right now. And as an American, I follow the money, and the money never lies. The money is called currency for a reason. Currency, like the river's current, it goes from one place to another, and along that path, it reveals everything. And that's what's been happening, honestly. And that's just one example. And that's like one of the things that young people are noticing, especially. And we're not as afraid to defy the norms that the boomers were brought up on, right? Bless those who bless Israel, kind of thing from Genesis. That verse is taken out of context. And the bottom line is, I'm just not with this anymore as an American. I look at my quality of life personally, and I don't go into my private details, but I look at my quality of life and I look at where my taxes are going and how much I'm paying and all this money that I've spent and everything else, what I'm earning, what I'm told America should be. I look at how boomers used to live as opposed to how we're living now, and I just go, what the fuck is this anymore? What is this country anymore? And why is all of our money going anywhere but to my pockets to benefit me as an American white man, right? That's the honest question we all need to ask ourselves. And I don't even mean to restrict it to white and men. If you're a black man and you're a heritage American and your ancestors were born here, you're a fourth generation African American. If you're a fourth generation European American, if you're man or woman, it shouldn't even matter. An American is an American. And we need to start keeping we need to do a better job, honestly, of keeping track of where our money is going, what it's being used for, and why isn't it benefiting us. And that's really the problem here, and why we're seeing such a shift when it comes to the perspective of the youth. And it's not just centered around Israel. I'm anti-NATO, right? I'm very anti-NATO at this point. I think I think they're worse in some ways, because NATO grandstands against us on the public stage, the global public stage. They pretend like we're disgusting, like they'd rather not deal with us, but they have to. All the while, they take plenty of our money behind the scenes without even thanking us for it half the time. So fuck them. Fuck all of these countries. And the longer time goes on, the more isolationist I become. And a lot of people vehemently disagree with that. They disagree with becoming an isolationist country. But to the rest of this fucking world, I say, fuck them. I say we shell up. I say we put in an immigration moratorium down on our borders for 20 years. We don't allow a single soul into this country for the next 20 years. I say we elect candidates in who are going to put Americans first, regulate AI, stop immigration, stop meddling in the Middle East, embrace the Monroe Doctrine, and focus on the Western Hemisphere, and most importantly, focus on Americans. That's what I'm looking for as a young millennial man. That's what Gen Z men are looking for, and that's what Americans need, whether they're looking for that or not. This is my country. This is the only country I care about. And I don't pretend ever to care about any other country. Because I don't. I just don't. What's been going on in Iran is sad. Yes, they're not my people. Americans are my people. And Americans are struggling more than ever right now. We just went through all that inflation with Biden. COVID wrecked our economy. And we really haven't recovered from that yet, in all honesty. Prices are still sky high. And Gen Zers have accepted that they're going to be renting their whole life if they ever feel like they can move out of mom and dad's home. So, this is the problem. And it really goes to show why only 11 to 19% of Americans under 30 support Israel. The under 45-year-old demographic is not much better either, by the way. And it's because I look at what's going on with our allies and I realize if they're not using us for money, they're using us for war and for protection at our expense. It needs to end. I'll take a look at some chats real fast. But I just wanted to point that out because this administration right now, this Trump administration, they're saying, oh, well, it's better optics if Israel strikes first and then gets attacked as a result. Then we have to go in to back them up. It's like, no, you're not going to win either way with a war in Iran. Trump ran on no new wars. That's a campaign promise of his. And there's no way to skirt that at this point. That's a campaign promise. He didn't suggest he might do it or, he wasn't asked about wars and then said, well, I'm going to try for no new wars. He brought that up on his campaign and he said, no new wars. And here we are. And people will pull that nuclear card out all the time. And I don't think it's completely unjustified to do so, but I'm just sick and tired of Americans feeling like we have to step up all the time and take the primary role when it comes to dealing with these countries. NATO should be doing it. UK should be doing it. Israel should be doing it. So, great speech. Agree with you. Thank you, Isaac Williams. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, by the way, please double tap if you're watching on your phone. Double tap your screen to like the stream. Definitely like the stream if you haven't already. It really helps the stream perform well in the algorithm. 4 likes is inexcusable. That is inexcusable. I'm disappointed in you guys. War is ugly. Most people do not like it. Yeah, agreed. Well, agreed. And here's the thing with war. You don't win. Like, midterms are coming up, right? And I'm already critical of this Trump administration for letting midterms set the tone on their new immigration policy, right? They're using the midterms to justify their surrender in Minnesota. They're using the midterms to justify easing up on mass deportations. So it's like, if you can allow the midterms to change your narrative on one of your key promises of mass deportation, why can you not also use the pressure of the midterm elections to justify sticking to your campaign promise of no new wars? Why is it that the pressure of the midterms has forced this administration to stop mass deportations, which benefits Americans in the long run? But why is it that the pressure of the midterms has also, for some reason, not had the same pressure on Trump when it comes to like inflating and aggregating in the Middle East and like provoking Iran and possibly going to war with them? How's that working right now? And again, what does it come down to? It comes to money. It just outright comes to currency and money. Miriam Adelson has donated, I think it's like $330 million to Trump this term, as opposed to $20 million last term in 2015. That's money. And that buys influence. Even if you're Trump, it doesn't matter. It buys influence. It buys persuasion. Whereas the money involved in mass deportations, for instance, that's a net negative in the short and midterm. That would actually negatively affect our GDP. And so really the decision, calm down, libtard. You're a fucking idiot. Canadian for Trump. First of all, you're a Canadian, so your opinion in this chat is irrelevant. You're literally a mindless, stupid Canadian, right? That's first and foremost. Secondly, I voted for President Donald Trump. and I'm a social and fiscal conservative. You're just not used to American conservatism because your watered down Canadian bullshit politics is pathetic, right? And that's why your country's in the state that it's in. It's disgusting because even your conservatives in your country don't know how to conserve shit. And that sadly has been true here in America to some degree. But the bottom line is we're at least focused on that. I don't trust Canadian conservatives at all. You guys are independents at best. If you call yourself a Canadian conservative, you're an independent at best. Everybody's far too liberal up there in Canada. So don't even get me started on that. You come in here and you make an absolute stupid assumption, Sue. Don't you have a husband to make a sandwich for? Anyways, I don't even remember where I was now. You 100% on the spot, man, says, for Google's sake. Hey, welcome back, for Google's sake. I recognize your name. I'm very, very isolationist, says 2009 Lifeguard. Yeah, I didn't start that way. And thank you, for Google's sake. I appreciate you, by the way. Please be sure to like the stream if you haven't already. If you're watching on your phone, double tap the screen. If you're not, you kind of got to look for how to like the stream, but like it. It helps. I didn't start off very isolationist for Google or 2009 Lifeguard. In fact, I honestly started off this channel thinking, yeah, we can allow immigrants in this country. They just need to come here legally. But there's a lot of good people from around the world. The last thing we'd want to do is be isolationist. That's how I started last year. And now it didn't take long. Now it's like, yeah, shut down that border. 20 years? 20 years is the minimum in my mind now, right? And isolationism just becomes more and more appealing. I genuinely believe that if we went isolationism right now, we wouldn't fully sustain it. We need to rebuild our infrastructure, our supply chains, our manufacturing in general. And we would need to maintain some level of trade with other countries. So we couldn't go full isolationism regardless. But we need to restore a lot of our manufacturing first, unfortunately. So isolationism is probably off the table from a logical standpoint, but we can dream. I think it would help a lot, honestly. It's not just up to Iran, bro. It's also Iraq. It's not just Iran, bro. It's also Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Syria, Russia, China, and Yemen. I understand that, Isaac. Yeah, I understand that. Definitely. Like I said, Iran is part of BRICS, right? It's part of BRICS, and I'm not so, I'm not super anti-Russia on this channel. I think that we're sanctioning them unnecessarily so. Siding with Ukraine over them, I think is kind of stupid in all honesty. And I'm not a fan of driving Russia deeper into the hands of China. So they have to fix the budget. There's a lot we have to fix here, Ali Riza. There's a lot that has to be fixed. But yeah, the budget's definitely one of them. I mean, just our spending is out of control. Our government spending's out of control. Gator fan says, remove H-1B. I agree. Yes, I agree. Remove H-1B visas. And that's not going to happen with Trump either. He likes those. He likes those because all of his rich business friends like them. And his rich business friends like them because they use them to hire cheaper labor. At the expense of Americans, by the way. Poland is isolated and they have no terrorist attacks as problem child. Yeah. Yep. Poland is isolated, and Poland is hilarious. I love them. They're based over there in Poland. I love them. They got so sick of their politicians that they got so sick of their politicians, not even 10 years ago, I think it was, that they all majority voted for their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to be the King of Poland. They didn't even allow like an actual human to win or like to become their leader. They chose their Lord. When you Googled it, who's the King of Poland, or maybe it's a president, I don't remember, but I literally did it with my own eyes less than 10 years ago, I think. And I literally Googled it. Who's the leader of Poland? And it literally said on Google, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's how fed up they were with their corrupt politicians in Poland. And it's true. They are pretty isolationist. They have what's his name? Donald Tusk now, which is a crazy name. But yeah, it's very true. Poland gets hit by occasional misfires from Russia, but Russia's not directly intentionally attacking them ever. Canada's the 51st state, right? No, we don't want Canada as the 51st state, Adam. Anyways, yeah, that's what I had to say about that. And I really wanted to tie it in some regard, loosely so, with the news in Cuba. And I don't know if you guys saw this yet or not. This is kind of more recent news. Articles are still coming out about it as of an hour ago even. Cuba soldiers, border patrol, whatever their equivalent is, wound up striking an American speedboat today, killing 4 and injuring 6. And it's a loaded topic right now. I'm still waiting for a lot of news to come out about it before I really dive into the details of it. But this does, in my opinion, tie in somewhat, at least, with what we're doing in Iran, because it reinforces my messaging of how important the Monroe Doctrine is. And so Cuba right now, I don't think people are as aware of the tensions heating up in Cuba, between Cuba and the U.S. right now. But Trump has essentially created a blockade in Cuba using some of our Navy ships and our military to stop Cuba from successfully selling and trading a lot. We're really applying a lot of pressure on Cuba right now, and we started doing so after our powerful and incredible demonstration down in Venezuela, where we captured Nicolas Maduro. Cuba's on the verge of collapsing as a country. They're massively corrupt, honestly, it bothers me that they even exist in their current state in our Caribbean waters. I'm the kind of person that's not a complete expansionist kind of person, but I do believe when it comes to our Western Hemisphere that there really shouldn't be any country off limits when it comes to America expanding its power and influence. Cuba, I look at as a country that just makes complete sense for us to absorb, in all honesty. I say we just topple Cuba. Like the thing is, here's the bottom line. I'm not in support of anything we're trying to do with Iran overall. I think it's too costly, too fruitless, and you can't justify it when you look at the fact that we're not even on that side of the world. NATO, Israel, and the UK really should be dealing with it. But on the Western Hemisphere, I'm a big believer of that. The Monroe Doctrine, focusing on the Western Hemisphere, focusing on keeping this side of the world, our Western Hemisphere, in check and in line, right? Focusing on all of the issues happening here. And the problem is we have 50% of our Navy now sitting in the Persian Gulf overseas, just at the southern part of Iran, waiting to be hit, basically, waiting to be attacked by them so we can justify going to war, is basically how I view that. Meanwhile, we have stuff like this happening today, or yesterday technically, when it comes to Cuba, striking an American speedboat. And when you break down the story of what happened there, and the reason why I'm not going too in depth on this story just yet, you learn that what's very likely happening here is it's Cuban nationals that were on the American speedboat. 2 of them, according to Cuba at least, were wanted for terrorism by their government. So I'm not sure the full details. What I do know is an American speedboat was struck by Cuba today, where people died. And the bottom line is this. I want events like this to be our focus. When it comes to foreign policy, if we're going to have to deal in foreign policy, I want it to be dealing with the Western Hemisphere, something like Cuba. I want us to continue. I love that Trump has a U.S. blockade strangling Cuba right now. I love that. I think Cuba's corrupt, wicked, and I think we should absorb them outright. We should own Cuba outright. Not even as necessarily some sort of a deal where they become a state eventually. That we don't want. But we should turn Cuba into a version of Puerto Rico, but with no pathway to become a state ever. And we should just own them. It's our Caribbean waters. It's the Gulf of America. And so with the Monroe Doctrine, and Cuba and everything happening, that's the main point here. This is what should be the priority right now. Not Iran, right? Our allies can deal with that. They're on that side of the world. We should be focused on our side of the world pretty exclusively. And at the very least, that should be our focus for the next decade or two. Just focus on this Western Hemisphere. Keep cleansing it. And by that, I mean, keep dealing with the corrupt governments and finding a way to topple them or end them. And at the very least, get a grip, like flex our power on this side of the world for the next 10 to 20 years. Ignore the old world. It's called the old world for a reason. So, what's going on there? Cuba, with Cuba, Trump has set up a blockade. This is the first blockade that's been set up on Cuba since 1962. And so they're feeling the tension, and it makes me think, in all honesty, and what upsets me is it makes me think that they struck our boat, the American boat there, on purpose, just to get back at us for the trade blockade. Would you have the carriers return without doing anything? Says Ali Reza. The carriers that are over in the Persian Gulf. Yeah, I mean, I can't justify sending military there. I just can't. And I'll say it for the 8th time tonight. NATO. Where's NATO? Where's our allies? Where are they? What do they ever do? Like, what do our allies ever do? Ever. Why would you want to give up our military bases overseas? I never said that. I never said that. We don't give up our military bases overseas. That doesn't make any sense to do that. I'm just saying we don't get involved militarily. We keep our military bases, and if other countries and our allies are going to start fighting each other, our military bases stay there. Like, we're still a hyperpower in this world. So I'm all for keeping a military presence ready to go in the event that we need to. Strategically, that's what makes sense, right? Like, we already have those bases there. We may as well keep them. The only event in which I'm for closing down the military bases is it's in basically, in my mind, what I would call the nuclear NATO event, where it gets to a point where NATO betrays us to China, which they're already hinting at doing. They keep taking advantage of us. They keep sucking down our money without contributing to their defense budget or anything. At that point, I say then we just close everything down. But that's more just to be spiteful. The fact of the matter is that's a feelings-based decision. Logically, it makes the most sense to keep those bases regardless, because we can use them to wage a war front whenever needed. Like, if we get attacked here on our home front by a country overseas, we have military bases close to them there with soldiers that we can send out pretty much immediately. So yeah, no, we keep our military presence. I'm just saying, why does it have to be our military that engages in these conflicts on behalf of all the other countries? That to me is what doesn't make any sense. You know, if Iran's such a problem, why is it always the American military expected to shed blood to solve the problem? Because that's what we're staring down the barrel of right now. We're staring down this barrel of, oh, we got to do it. Oh, Iran's developing their ballistic missiles. They're trying to develop ones that can reach you anyway. You got to strike now. They can already reach Europe. We got to stop them now before they possibly can send missiles, launch their missiles at Europe. It sounds like Europe's problem. That's all I'm saying. Europe should be leading the charge on this. We should be able to sit back, because after all, that's what they do. And I'd love, tell me, please, show me an instance where Europe and NATO has ever led the charge against the perceived evils of this world. Show me one instance where they have sent the majority force of their military into a war or conflict going on in the world to defeat evil, and us as Americans and American soldiers have gotten to take the step back and say, we'll send a couple thousand soldiers at most if needed to support you guys in your massive effort on this campaign and on this warpath. We'll possibly think about sending a few soldiers if needed. But for now, we're going to let you guys take the lead on that. Oh, and I guess we can send a little bit of money for medical aid and supplies. We'll sell you weapons if needed, but we're going to let you guys take this one. When has that happened? We need Taiwan. Well, yeah, and I mean, you know, that's the other thing too, and I said this last night as well. All this attention on the Middle East also just doesn't make that much sense to me anymore when it comes to the future. And the future is two regions. One, the Arctic, and I've already covered that at length, and why Greenland was so important and why it's kind of a failure on Trump for us to not own it outright. The Arctic's going to be crucial. But also the Indo-Pacific. Once again, we're shifting to the Indo-Pacific. Japan is going to be key for us. Japan, the Indo-Pacific, Virgin Islands, everything out west in the Pacific Ocean. That's what we really need to be focusing on, not the Middle East. That should be our allies taking that one for us. Our allies should be dealing with Iran while we get set up in the Indo-Pacific, strengthen our ties with Japan. You know, if there's one good NATO ally, one good ally over there, it's going to be Italy, right? So it's like let's strengthen our ties with Italy and Japan, and Europe can lead the charge on this one. That's all I'm trying to say here. And I don't think anybody can credibly argue against that notion, honestly. Like, what can you say? We owe it to them? We owe it to Israel? We gave them their country. We've funded all of their crap. We sell them weapons. We protect them. We owe it to NATO? Why? We've defended NATO. We've literally contributed to their protection for the better part of 75 years, 77 years. Why do we owe NATO? Why do we owe Israel? We don't owe them shit. You know, same with the UK. Focus on the USA, says Isaac. Yeah, first and foremost. Focus on the USA, and then if anything, let's reevaluate our alliances and really really determine who's our true allies. I believe it's Japan. I believe it's Italy. I believe it's even some South American countries. El Salvador, I think, has stepped up and proven themselves. And Argentina's halfway shady, but, Milei is, he says some based stuff at least. He's very anti-liberal, and he seems to be willing to work with us. So Argentina and El Salvador and Japan and Italy, maybe South Korea. That one's up for debate too, but, I look at our current allies and they just want to run to China. It's sickening. Mark Carney in Canada, he wants more Chinese influence for his country. Emmanuel Macron in France wants more Chinese developments and networking with China for his country of France. It's gross. These are not allies. These are people betraying us to our face and then expecting us to protect them while they turn on us. Fuck them. What allies, says Dennis. Yeah, exactly. What allies? Exactly. I can't name them right now. Not in good faith. I can tell you who they are on paper, our allies, but I can't say in good faith that they're really our allies. I went to China, and they want Taiwan because some 1500s map. Well, yeah, this is always, always comes down to some sort of manifest destiny, right? Like Israel wants the greater Israel nation, which is why they're so obsessed with Iran outright. Like to some degree, maybe it's about Iran not developing nuclear power, but the overall theme here is every country besides America, because Americans for some reason have guilt, right? Us evil colonizers, we deserve to have our land stolen from us, kind of deal, because we're on stolen land. Like we're the only ones that are like that here in that thought process. All these other countries that are like, still not, totally destroyed by feminism and actually have leaders with balls like Russia, Israel, China. They're all into expansionism. They're all like, yeah, fuck it. We deserve this land. And in some ways, I respect that. Actually, I do respect that overall. These countries have a grasp on conquest and they understand what it means to conquer because it's important for a country to do so. You can't overexpand, but at the same time, it's pretty inevitable that you do if you run a country or an empire even. And so Russia wants Ukraine. Israel wants Iran and the greater Israel nation is basically what they're trying to create here. China wants Taiwan. This is how it goes. And it's never really, it's demonized. Don't get me wrong. These agendas are demonized by people, right? But when America decides we need Greenland, the world stops. Like, that's the ultimate travesty. And like idiots here, we're the only ones that say, you know what, never mind, right? Like, we kind of force Russia into negotiations. We're like, listen, you can't keep taking Ukraine. But Russia just looks at us and goes, well, you can help us develop a treaty, but in the meantime, we're going to keep blasting Ukrainians and we're going to take as much of it as we can. We can tell China, listen, you can't have Taiwan. We recognize the sovereignty of the Taiwanese. And China plays nice for now, but we all know that their goal is to take Taiwan, and they very likely will do it. And the same goes for Israel, right? We never call out Israel on that. Our leaders don't ever call them out for that. Israel just views the Middle East basically as theirs. They're like, we deserve it. And so the bottom line is, I respect that actually, even if I disagree with the agendas oftentimes for various different reasons. I respect that. It's just us Americans who have the problem. Oh, those 57,000 Greenlandic fishermen, we were going to take away their sovereignty. Fuck them. I don't care. I'm done pretending to care. And we wouldn't even change their way of life. It's not like we're going to colonize Greenland to the point of where we're building major big cities on Greenland. It's a fucking ice rock. We just need it for strategical positioning, to control sea routes, to develop the Golden Dome, and to mine rare earth minerals. It can stay in ice rock. We wouldn't mess with the 57,000 people there. They can keep fishing for a living for all I care. I wouldn't even go visit Greenland ever as an American. It's not like it's a up-and-coming hot tourist attraction or vacation spot. But when we decide we want it and we need it, then it's a problem. And then everyone says, wow, America's disgusting. How dare they say they need Greenland? Like, take a fucking look around you. Every major superpower right now is basically deciding they need more land. It's just a problem. It's just the worst when America does it for some reason. It's so backwards. It's so fucking stupid. Some people say getting Iran. Some people say getting Iran will help U.S. choke China's energy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, this is why I'm not pro Iran. I don't ever want to be confused for somebody who is. I'm just anti America dealing with Iran. And I get it. Yeah, I do. Honestly, they're part of BRICS, Iran. So yeah, it would hurt China to some degree. But that's also, I don't know. It's very loaded. War's complicated. That is what you get for threatening your allies and being untrustworthy trade partner. Yeah, that's you're eating up liberal propaganda by the spoonful, aren't you? You idiotic double digit IQ cuck. Honestly, like you should honestly make yourself sick when you send a chat like that. That's what you get for being so threatening to your allies. Threatening to our allies? You mean like telling NATO it's time they pay their fair share for their defense budget? You mean like telling NATO we're not going to subsidize their pharmacology and all of their fucking prescription medicine that keeps their prices cheap while Americans can't afford that shit over here? You mean like not subsidizing Canada as an entire country and buying all of their stupid, useless lumber that we don't need while they tariff us 300% on dairy? You mean like telling the world that after we defended Greenland for Denmark during the World Wars, where Denmark folded in under 6 months each war, and then we gave it back to Denmark free of charge because we're a benevolent empire? You mean all of that jazz? That's what we get? You mean like balancing the trade deficit where all of the other countries promised free trade and then tariffed us anyway and or applied non-tariff trade barriers on us where they took advantage of us for decades, all while we shipped our manufacturing and jobs overseas to China at Americans' expense? Yeah, how dare we? How dare we prioritize our country now? Fuck you. You're a traitor. We need a couple of runways in Greenland. We do need that, yeah. Especially because China was trying to be grimy and build their own runways there, and China was trying their debt enslavement strategy in Greenland. By the way, China literally just like how they sneak around China. China conquers countries. I say this all the time. China conquers countries without firing a single bullet. They go to these countries that are in desperate need, and they say, "Hey, don't worry. We'll loan you $60 billion. You can just pay us back. Don't worry about it." And then basically those countries can never pay them back, so they're enslaved. And China was trying that with Greenland. China said, "Hey, Greenland, you guys could use some airstrips, couldn't you? Well, we're going to build 3 of the fanciest, most expensive airstrips on us. We'll pay for it, Greenland. China will pay for it. Don't worry about it. You can pay us back." Thankfully, I don't think that's been taking place, but they've been trying it because China wants Greenland too. I think because China's already it's like in some ways it's almost like being a fifth grader again, where like some kids being excluded. There's like the Arctic Conference that's forming, so it's all countries that border the Arctic are now part of an Arctic Conference because it's being recognized right now that a lot of military procedures and a lot of stuff will be taking place in the Arctic in the future. Well, China doesn't border the Arctic. We do because we have Alaska. China doesn't though. Canada, United States, Russia, etc. Some European countries. And so there's this conference and China's like, "Well, we're a near Arctic country, so we really should be a part of that." And everyone's like, "No, China, no, you're not a part of it. You're not an Arctic country. You don't border it." So China, I think, wants Greenland, honestly, just for that reason alone, but also for the strategical aspect of it. If China got Greenland, that would be a nightmare for us. Leave your mom's basement, says video. I'm not in a basement. I'm in my car. I'm literally in my car. I'm homeless. War and violence never going to end, sadly. That's true. But that doesn't mean we have to be a part of every single one of those wars either. When is Epstein releasing the Trump files, says Joe Murphy. I'm not sure. We got to find Epstein first. He's hiding somewhere. Do we have any allies left? We do. We have people. I already listed them. We have countries that genuinely want to work with us. El Salvador, Argentina, Italy, Japan. Those are the countries we should be looking towards more. You think Greenlanders want to be a part of a 3 world country? They have universal health care and paid education. They only have that because of us. If we stopped funding NATO, they don't have that. That all goes away. You speak so much truth, says Eddie. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Welcome back, by the way. I'm recognizing your username a lot more these days, too, Eddie. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Dennis, are you always the smartest person in every room you're in? The answer to that question, 2009 lifeguard, is yes, because he's the only person ever in the room. I try not to be, but with a lot of Americans, it's hard not to be. Oh, so you're not even an American? You're just cattle then. You're just swine. Dennis is swine. He lives in another country, some subpar inferior country, well underneath America in positioning of power. So your opinion's irrelevant. Your country sucks. I don't need to know where it is, by the way. Your country sucks. There's only one good country in this world, and it's America. Glory to America. God bless the USA. I'm going to end it right there, actually. That's a perfect way to end it. I only went live because YouTube demands that I go live every single day and that I always post daily. Otherwise, I'm not useful to YouTube, and then they make sure that I'm punished. So I'm live. Here it is. That was what I wanted to discuss. Thanks, everybody, for chatting. Appreciate all of you guys, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to like the stream, like the video that the stream gets posted as after the fact. Feel free to comment on it. I'll respond to comments that are worth my time. And subscribe right now to American Advocates if you haven't already. Make sure post notifications are turned on when you do, so that you're always notified every single time I go live or post a video. I will be posting some regular videos soon. I got to. We got to get people out there like James Fishback and Rupert Lowe. And I'm not going to go live about them, but I'm going to make videos about them. So be on the lookout for those. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to get a good night's rest. So I'll be back tomorrow much more energized and hopefully with some actual news, some good news to talk about or something exciting. I'm getting kind of sick and tired of talking about the same 5 topics every single week. I want something, even if it's not great, I want something explosive to happen. That's probably not the best wish of mine. But anyways, thank you guys. Subscribe. So, yeah, thank you, Isaac. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Great program. And I need to go to bed anyway, says Lifeguard. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're 59 years old, you told me, you old man. It's past your bedtime. It's past mine too, to be fair, though. And you have a business to run, Lifeguard. So yes, stay fresh, get some sleep. I'll be back tomorrow, guys. Glory to America. God bless the USA. God bless you. Take care.